Hello and welcome to the Writing Gals. It's just Laura and me right now. Michelle hopefully will join us. We'll see if she can make it. She's got something going on at her house right now. So we're just taking off with it, just ourselves, and see if we can do this. But today we're talking about how to build a sustainable business model with our writing. And I'm so excited for this conversation. I have lots to say about it, and so does Laura. And hopefully
Yep.
Michelle can get on because she has lots to say too. But first, we're going to talk about what we've been up to. So, Laura, take it away. What have you been doing?
A lot of crying.
Oh, no.
So last week I was telling you I was having a really emotional month. Well, it's just got worse and worse. And I'm the
Oh,
type of
no.
person that like bottles it. Okay, so I'm British, right? So we take our emotions and then we just stuff them down really deep and then bottle them up. And for
Yes.
me, it builds and builds and builds, and then eventually I have to just let it all out. And so I've been incredibly emotional, lots of
Oh, no.
crying, lots of feeling sorry for myself. We will get into that because that's to do with really the topic of this conversation. So I'm
Yes.
excited about it. But despite all of that, I have been able to get a little bit of work done, although I am ashamed to admit that it's the 3rd of November and my word count for nano is still on 0.
Hey,
um,
whatever you need to do, right?
Oh man, you know what I think it is? I think I worked really hard to finish a book um by the end of September that and then October I launched 2 books. I just need a little bit of a break. So knowing me,
Yes.
I often do nano in 2 weeks. So I usually end up doing it middle of November, mostly because I get FOMO. Like normally every year I'm like, no, I'm not going to do nano. And then halfway through, I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Everybody else is
So
doing it.
exactly, like I'm gonna miss out, or I want the prizes because you get
Yeah.
prizes, right? And then I never use them, but I just want to win. So that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to, Victorine?
Well, today is my birthday, and for my birthday, I am giving away my book for free on Kindle. So if you
Nice.
want to go grab a copy of Angels Can't Fall in Love, it's by Angel Adams. That's my pen name. It's free on Kindle.
I actually picked
So
it up today, but I
you
didn't get it.
did?
I got it through KU, so I'm reading
Oh,
it right
fun.
now.
Awesome. Exciting. I'm so happy. And I've been working on, for work, I've been working on the Dummies book, the How to Write Romance for Dummies.
Mhm.
I've finished all my pages that I had to put in and submit, but then we're doing revisions and all that stuff, reworking some chapters and things like that. So that's what I'll be doing all month long, probably.
Oh, I bet that would feel like a massive relief when you've finally done it, because I know you've been
Yes.
working on that a long time.
Yes, when it's all done, it'll be like, "Yay, done."
How has it been though, working with a publisher on this?
Oh, it's been so much fun. Yeah, so much fun.
Really?
They're really great to work with. So if you ever
Oh,
get
that's
approached by the
good.
Wiley Group and they ask you to write a dummies book, it's been a wonderful process. So
Oh,
it's
how
been great.
lovely.
Yeah.
Great. When are they planning to publish it?
Next year, I'm
Mm,
thinking May, somewhere around there.
okay,
And
that's
they told
cool.
me that they greenlighted this book for more publicity than their other books because they feel like it has more potential to sell really well. So I'm like, yay,
Great.
that's
Yay. Oh, I'm so excited to see how that pans out. I'm excited to read it. So
awesome.
we can all learn, we've all got stuff we can learn, right?
Yes, right? Definitely.
So, yeah, cool.
Great. All right, so let's start out. I have 3 questions from people so far, and if you happen to have a question while you are listening, feel free to put them in the comments and we'll get to your question. But we'll start with Sarah. She asked, how would you say success and failure play into sustainability? And how can we help our careers become more sustainable? So, those 2 questions. We'll start with, how do you say success and failure play into sustainability? What do you think?
They're big questions.
That
They're not
is a
the kind of
big,
question that you just give a really simple answer, but I had been
Right.
mulling it over while I was driving because I saw it earlier, and um, I think, I think the only way I could come up with an answer was by rewording the question slightly, in the whole well, not rewording the question, but more success and failure is part of every business, and every business
Mhm.
model will have its, triumphs and its, I wouldn't call failures, I would call lessons, because every time something goes wrong, you learn from it and you pivot. And I think that that's a hard truth for the perfectionists out there. I know authors that hold on to a book for 10 years because they want to wait for it to be perfect, and then they want to get all the pieces together and have the perfect launch and the perfect scenarios so that they can then make a business from selling that book. But holding us, okay, so there was a study where, I think it was Oxford University, I don't, maybe not, but there was a study where they took a room of 100, um, I'm probably just like ruining this now. This is not false news. I probably let's just pretend.
Fake
I don't know
news.
what number it was. There was a bunch of photographers, right, in a class, and half of the class were told to take one picture and make it the best picture they can. And then the other half had to take as many pictures as possible. Didn't have to be the best picture, just as many as possible. And the results were that the half that had taken more pictures came up with a better product than the half that had just done the one.
Mhm.
So I think it's important to remember that you don't need to have everything perfect, because you won't have it perfect. And
Yes.
I think I have seen people set themselves up, set themselves up, set themselves up. And then when their launch doesn't meet their expectations, or their experience doesn't align with what they were hoping for, then they get really down on themselves, and many
Yes.
quit. So I
Yes.
think it's important to know it's part of the process, and that helps when those learning opportunities come and things don't go so well. It's easier to get yourself back up again and go, okay, let's keep going, like this is going to be a long process.
Yes.
So that's one tip.
Absolutely. I agree complete with that, and I love that analogy. Um, for me, when I think about success and failure, as far as sustainability goes, I kind of look at it as in a business, whether you've had a plus year or a minus year, or how far you're in the red or how far you're in the black type of thing. Sometimes business to me boils down to numbers, but this is a business that is based on creativity, and you have to feed that creativity. You can't just be looking at the numbers all of the time, because it's not always just about the numbers. It's about how much heart we put into what we're doing, right? And so you
Hmm.
can't measure that with how much income you're bringing in, or how much you've lost or gained that year, or if you're up from last year or not.
Hmm.
So as far as sustainability goes, I think you have to look at your successes and failures more as pragmatic, rather than emotional, right? So I
Hmm.
like to think about things more critically than with my heart, especially when it's business matters like that. And so if you're having a fantastic year and you're up a whole bunch, pragmatically, I think, okay, but all the top books this year in 10 years aren't going to be the top books anymore. So this is
Hmm.
not always going to be this way, right? What goes up
Hmm.
eventually comes down. And so
Yeah.
I have to think about that as far as, okay, what am I going to do next year to not to stay the same? Because if you have that goal of staying the same and you're having a take breakout book, it may
Hmm.
not stay the same. It may go down. But what can
Hmm.
I do to make sure my business doesn't crash and burn, and make sure that
Hmm.
I don't burn out, and that I don't
Hmm.
let that downward slide affect me emotionally?
Yeah.
Because like you said, you can look at that downward slide and think, I'm no good anymore, something's wrong.
Hmm.
have this imposter syndrome where all this success really wasn't because my book was great, or whatever you think, to whatever that voice tells you to make
Mhm.
you get down and out. You have to bounce back from that, and you have to just say, you know what, this book can't stay in the top 100 forever, you know?
Mm.
So I think having that mindset of practicality helps me be more sustainable in my business.
Yeah, definitely. And you were just making me think of how business ebbs and flows, and it's healthy to zoom out and look at your sales over a longer period of time. I see, like, especially your income, I see that when I zoom out and I look at year on year, it gives me a very different picture than just month on month. And
Yes.
often I see in groups people like to compare how February was with March, how March was with April. But I'm always saying this. This might be a repeat, but I'm trying to like hammer this home that when I did my sales training, because I come from a sales background, they would always say you look at year on year, but like so February 2021 with February 2022. You
Yes.
don't go by February 20.
Last month. Yes.
People want a staircase for the year. They want to start on January here and then they want to end in December here.
Right.
And then they get so upset when they find that their graph is all over the place.
Up and
When
down.
actually we find that sales and just your business through the year, it's cyclical. There's usually a cycle that you can see, a pattern that repeats, and then it's dependent on whether you've had a new book released that month or how much work you've put into promotion. And then here's another thing. Commonly, so this is from sales again, commonly what you are experiencing now is the result of something that you have been doing 2 months ago.
Yes.
So what a lot of people do is they'll push and push and push and push and push, and then they think it's not working, and then they don't do anything, and then they go, see, it wasn't making any difference because now I'm seeing sales.
Yep.
You might see that with your Facebook ads, or you might see it with you've been pushing on TikTok or social media or to your newsletter. So it's important to remember that like we are sowing seeds when we're marketing our
Yes.
books. And I think if you have that, you are tending a garden, you're a gardener, you've got a more of a long game mentality rather than this always chasing for the next big, like, I want, my book to suddenly race through the charts, like trying to have that long game mentality and zoom out a little bit. It calms you down. And let me be real, like, let me explain why I was crying.
Oh, yes,
Because
do.
this will help. So I released my pirate romance. It's under a pen name. It doesn't have an ARC team. I don't have a newsletter. It was brand new. And I was incredibly raw and vulnerable about this release and nervous. Now, if I looked at the paper, looked at my sales, it's my best release I've ever had. It's blown me away in terms of numbers.
That's
And I was
great.
crying. I was crying because out of the 50 reviews, I've got 3 that are bad.
Oh,
And
I
it's the
hate
3
bad
bad
reviews.
reviews that what they were saying, like, "Oh, you were copying Pirates of the Caribbean," or, "Oh, it wasn't
Oh my
historically
goodness.
accurate, it's not Regency romance," and and it's those small voices that
Yes.
stayed rent free in my head. And the weirdest thing is, when I read them, it didn't really affect me at that moment, but I let it fester in my mind over a period of a few days. And then I started to create this reality that wasn't real. I thought,
Yes.
people hate my book. Yeah, people are reading it, but they're all saying how much they hate it. They're laughing at me. I'm never
Oh,
going to
no.
sell anymore. Like, no one wants to read the second book. And I'm a disgrace and I should be ashamed. And like, I'm going to have to tell everyone I'm a big fat failure. Like, it was awful.
Don't we do that
Um,
though? For those 3 bad ones, we discount all the other good ones. We
mhm.
just tend to do that. It's terrible for
Yeah.
us.
And I know it's human nature because it's to keep us safe. We're looking for the negative things that could hurt us, to like try and stay
Mm,
safe. But we don't need to do that. Now,
right.
I've spoken to some friends, and thank goodness for all you, like you and Michelle and Emily and Amy, like people telling me, look, calm down, Laura. Like
Yes.
keeping me grounded. But I have been shocked at how many people don't read their reviews, because I'm like, how do you have the self-control?
Mm,
But after my experience, I'm thinking, I see the wisdom in that. And actually, what Emily Childs does is she hires someone to read her reviews for her. So she gets her PA or someone, and then and that's useful because I think, well, I want the feedback. I want to know how I can improve. Um, and so you kind of like that, get that best of both. So you've got someone who can read your reviews. Now, if you don't have a PA, maybe you can just buddy up with another author
yeah,
and you
ask
could
another
offer the
author.
same thing. Like you could read their reviews for them or something.
Yeah.
Um, but that was the reason why I was crying. And then I had a moment where I was like Laura, grow up, like this, you need to look at this from a different perspective. And I thought,
Mm,
no, I'm going to zoom out. And I realized this book has only been out like 2 weeks and it's got 50 reviews. And I'm
that's
like,
great.
I remember when I released my first book under Laura Burton, it took me like 2 years to get 50 reviews.
Yeah.
So it's like that's really good. And and there are a lot of good reviews, like passionate ones. So
Good.
and it's early in the game. So I think I think, I mean, I know that people kind of roll their eyes at the whole mindset thing, but I think in order to have a sustainable business where you can just keep going at this, having a healthy mindset is key. I mean,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's my little
absolutely.
tangent.
No, absolutely. So let's chat a little bit about the second question. How can we help our careers become more sustainable?
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about that too. What were you thinking?
So I think setting up some things to help our sustainability, like having a newsletter, being able to rely on some of these um, basic things that everybody talks about. Ads are awesome, but I don't know how sustainable it is to have your business model be every book I put out, I'm just going to put tons of ads on, just because
Mhm, mhm,
some books do better than other books. Some books hit the market better than other books. And so ad spend is super expensive. And so it can really drain you financially as well as emotionally to be putting in all those ads. Now ads work for books that are already doing really well. So don't think that I'm saying don't put ads out on your books, because they can work. Um, it just depends on how that book hits the market. But if you have a book that just is slow as molasses as selling and is not going, don't feel bad that you've failed or anything like that, because so many books that are published every year just don't sell as well as the other ones. I mean, if you think about
mhm,
traditional publishing, their business model is, let's try to publish the really good books, but we're going to just kind of toss them out there and see which ones do well. And,
mm.
their income, 90% of traditional publishing books, the income comes from 10% of the books that are out there. And that is
Wow.
a staggering um, thing to think about, that um, most of the books that are traditionally published, that are vetted by
Mm,
agents and
mm,
publishers, just don't sell like Nora Roberts and
mm,
um, all these top names, right? These
mhm,
are these are books that are well written. So don't think that your book is not well written if it doesn't sell really well. But as far as sustainability goes, you need to just keep plugging away at those things that we all know help your business. So work on your craft, keep going to conferences and keep getting better at your craft. And do those things like that gather up the fans, like do the newsletter and um, keep in mind of what is working for other authors. I say, always be in some kind of group, and the Writing Gals is a great group where we talk about what's going on in the writing world. And you need to be aware of what's going on in the writing world. Like Laura has been doing TikTok, and it's really been helping a lot of authors sell books. So we need to know what's helping authors right now sell books, and we need to do our best to try these things that people are saying are working. And I think keep plugging away at what you're doing, and don't let the rise and fall of it emotionally get you down, because that
Mm,
can just really wear on you. And like you said, it can make you
mm,
quit
mhm.
even.
Yeah, it can. I think I have a lot of days where I'm like, "That's it. I quit. I'm never doing this ever again. I can't do it." I think I was sending voice notes to Emily yesterday saying, "I can't do this, Emily. I can't do this anymore."
Right? You get
Um,
that way.
Sometimes you have to have those moments. Um I think it's good to invest a little bit of time to find out about you and how you work and your personality. We all have different skills and different, things that we naturally gravitate to. It might be that we really like newsletters and engaging with readers that way. And if you put, I personally think, do one thing at a time. Don't try and do everything at once. That's what I tried to do. It was overwhelming. I couldn't do it. And that was why last year I went all in on TikTok from February. I was like, I can't do ads, and I can't do my newsletter, and I can't figure out TikTok, and I can't do Instagram. And it was too many different things. I didn't even really do anything on Facebook. I was like, I'm just going to go all in on TikTok. And the reason why I chose TikTok was not because I saw other authors making money on TikTok. I mean, that helped, but it was because TikTok is my personality. Silly, short videos where I get to be fun and creative. And I made videos, like I've been making fun videos since I was 5 with my brother. And so it just fit with my personality. It wasn't trying to force a square or a peg into a square hole, it fit with my personality. And I believe that's why TikTok's been helping me. And I think that's also why some people go over to TikTok and they try really hard and they don't get the same results, because perhaps that's not going to fit with their personality. Some people thrive on having big, lofty goals and lots of them. Some people become paralyzed with lofty goals and trying to visualize their future. Some people find success through just going with their intuition and what feels right and what feels good. So I think it's helpful to understand more about who you are, your personality type, and then how you can harness your own strengths, and also give yourself permission to let go of the stuff that you just can't handle. I think we look around at what everyone else is doing. I'm guilty of this, and we think I should be doing this and I should be doing that, and I should be figuring this out, and that person's doing really well at this, and why can't I figure that out? And what we need to be doing is staying in our lane, because we all have our own skills. So I'm always saying, this year I've been saying, lean into your strengths and outsource your weaknesses. So if there's stuff to do with your business that you hate, like you hate accounting, get an accountant. you know,
I love that. That's so great.
If you hate ads, get someone to help you with ads, or don't do ads, and just focus on what you are good at doing and where your strengths are. And I promise you, that's how you'll grow. Like this year, I'm like $2,000 away from being a six-figure author this year. Last year, I made $21,000 all year. So that's like incredible growth. And you know how I did it? I just leaned into my strengths and I outsourced my weaknesses.
That is fantastic. That definitely is fantastic advice, to figure out what lane you work well in and lean into those strengths, because that is, yeah, absolutely fantastic advice.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. The next question is from Scarlett, and she asks, when/how do you decide whether to diversify or change gears to keep moving forward, like a pen name or a genre switch or a category switch? Or is this something you would not suggest in a sustainable business model?
We both did that this year. What's your
Yes.
what made you go into angel rom-com?
So that was a story idea that would not let go, that just was like, you have to write me. And sometimes I write to market, right? So I study the market and then come up with an idea that fits the market. This story was a for love book. So this was, I have this idea. It will not let me go. I'm going to have to write it because it's this idea that just won't quit. And so that was a for love book, and it got me out of my burnout that I was in, because I was trying to finish a rom-com that just wasn't coming to me the way it should have, right?
Yeah.
So I put that one on hold, and I let this story percolate and come out. And so that's why I did that. But I think the pen name thing is just a smart business decision, right? Because
Yes.
putting all of your books, if they're different genres, under one name confuses the algorithms on the different
Mm,
platforms, and especially
mm,
on Amazon. It'll confuse those
mm,
algorithms and you won't sell as many. And so
mhm.
putting them in different boxes, different categories, lets Amazon say, okay, this name over here, I need to market to these people. And this pen name over
Yeah.
here, I need to market to these people. And I
Mhm.
also um, made the mistake of putting my nonfiction with the same name as my fiction. And so I this year separated those out as well into not a pen name, but I just took out my middle initial
Mhm. Mhm.
and made it a separate author, whatever, on Author Central. And so it's
Yeah.
got a different profile, and
Mhm.
it's separated out so that Amazon doesn't get confused as to who my audience is. And I
Mhm.
think that's just wise. I don't think it's a bad business model for sustainability.
No, not at all. And if you're the personality that where you like to write in lots of different genres, then I think it's a very smart move to make. I understand the question of when is the right timing. You know, is this going to destroy my business? You know, you've it's a tricky one to answer. I mean, I don't believe we should be going in to debt to change your genre. So if this is going to be a situation where you're going to have to take out debt to edit and get the covers and get this, you know, new pen name going, then maybe now's not the right time for that. That's just my take on it. However, if you've got a little bit of money in your business and you have at least enough to kind of cover your basic publishing fees, why not? You know, I I this year started Athena Rose, which is my dark fantasy pen name, and like you, like I did, I went above and beyond the mistakes of so I'm learning this year. Like I wish I could do it all over again because if I did it all over again, I would be extremely selective about what books I would publish under my name and then
Mm,
what pen names I would use. So even to the point where I would have a separate billionaire pen name and a
mm,
separate rom-com pen name because even though I'm a mood reader, I mean, I will read nearly anything.
yeah.
I realized that the general readership out there are not mood readers. They stay in there what they like, and it kind of makes sense. It makes me think whenever I get takeaway. So, like if I order Chinese, you know,
Hmm.
I always look at all the different dishes and I always order the same thing. It's the same
Yeah.
with Indian, right? Like
Yeah.
I think people get same with Domino's. Like you get comfy with what you know and you just order the same thing over and over again. You know
Yep.
what to expect. And so if someone picks up your billionaire romance and they really like it, then they follow you and then they look at your backlist and then you write a vampire novel, it's not going to be it's not going to be the
Right.
same, you know. And I thought, oh, but there's a bit of comedy in my billionaire romance, I'm sure that they'll go over to the rom-coms. But no, the crossover is not as good. And the
Yep.
authors that I see that are really doing well in terms of creating a business model that will pay the bills every month and it's growing and their readership is growing, they stay in their lane. So
Yeah.
there's Sarah Hope. She's a British author like me. She just writes about a Cornish bakery. I think there's like 20 books in that series. They're short stories. She does really, really well. And she makes money off
Nice.
just releasing a short story once a month, and they're
Nice.
charming. You've got obviously Elena Johnson. She does the Small Town Cowboys. She really stayed in her lane. You know, when people figure out what their readers are coming to them for, and then they keep producing that same thing over and over again, then you create this model where people will trust you, they know what to expect, and they'll keep coming back for more. So
Yep.
I've been on a journey. I in fact got an email from a reader saying, I'm excited to find out who you're going to end up being. Like, I don't know
Mhm.
what to expect from a Laura Burton novel because they've all been so different. And
Interesting.
this was like a year ago, and I read that and thought, that is so interesting. Like,
Yeah.
I've not given my readers a clear picture of this is what to expect from my books. And so of course, my books have been very different. Their launches have been different. Some have done well, some have not done as well. So
Yeah.
if I was going to be smart about it, I would do that. However, there is a big caveat here, because if you are a transformational personality, this will burn you out. You don't want to write the
Mhm.
same formulaic story over and over again. You know, it's going to drive you crazy. But that's where you can have fun with pen names, because you can write different genres. Just make sure it's a different pen name. And I just look at pen name as branding. So it's not like
Yes.
hiding or having a different personality. It's just like you say, it's telling Amazon what is it and who should read it and everything. It's easy for me to say it now. It's taken me like 4 years to like get to this point where I'm like, this is what I would do and this is what I would do.
Right?
um I mean, you can do the haphazard, let's jump around and figure out what I'm doing. But it's a tricky, unless you have the mindset that you're just testing and you're having fun and you're going to go along with the ride. Um, then I would recommend trying to have like a clear plan
Yes.
and sticking with it.
Yep, I agree with that, definitely. And it doesn't mean you can't write in a different genre. Just make sure you
Mhm.
separate that out for readers' sake and for the sake of the algorithms.
Mhm.
All right, Amy asks, I've heard that there are very few things you can't come back from, as in very few mistakes so egregious they're career suicide. But then cancel culture comes to mind. Is there a mistake you can't come back from?
Well, pen names pen names mean you can you can get away
Exactly.
with a
That's what
lot, can't you?
first came to my mind. I mean,
Like,
you can make mistakes so big that you destroy a name, right? A
yeah.
publishing name.
Yes.
Because if you get on social media and you start talking hate speech or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
you can it can blow up on you and you can destroy
Yeah.
that name. But
Yeah.
I think you can come back from it by rebranding and
Mhm.
making a new pen name, but
Mhm.
just don't go on social media and be a butthole. Just don't
Yes.
do it. Don't be mean. Don't
Yes.
be a jerk, you know? Um,
Yes.
just
Yeah.
try to think of other people as human beings, right? And you want
Mhm.
to treat everybody with respect and
Mhm.
don't don't make some of these big mistakes publicly that you cannot come
Mhm.
back from. So the ones I've seen are people arguing with reviewers. Don't do that. Because
Yeah.
that can become very public very quickly if you start arguing with a reviewer. Um, don't start lawsuits and claim, like Cockygate comes to mind. Don't
Oh,
make a
yes.
bunch of books come down because they have your trademark
Yeah.
on them or whatever. Don't do
Yeah.
that. Um,
Don't plagiarize.
yes, don't plagiarize or anything like that. That you may be a
Yeah.
mistake you can't come back from.
And there's only one of you, of like, there's only one face, right? Like, if you are the
Yes,
face of your brand, you
yes,
can't, you know, you can. You know, I'm coming to this particular part of the conversation as a reader now, but
yes,
I love Roald Dahl, and I love Charles Dickens, and I love J.R. Tolkien, and I love C.S. Lewis, and I love William Wordsworth. I don't know anything about them personally. I know a little bit about Roald Dahl because I read his books, but I love them because I love their work and their characters and their voice. I
yes,
feel like if they had been, or if I found out that they had been very opinionated on a certain topic, or like they owned, I don't know, like slaves, like if there was something
right,
like controversial, it would absolutely ruin my whole. I wouldn't be able to read another book by them, I feel like.
right,
And so I come to this with the mindset that I don't want to. I know some people are going to hate this because we all have different opinions, but my opinion is that I don't want to share an opinion on politics and religion and
right.
social situations and pop culture and things like that. I don't want to share my opinion that would be divisive, because everyone's opinion is valid. And
Yes,
if I was to say, well, I believe this, it kind of can diminish, like that's alienating all these readers that might think differently.
yes,
um and I don't want people to hear me when they read my books. I want them to be enchanted in the story and just get to know my characters. It's not personal to, I mean, it feels personal because we made the books, but they're not personal to us. They're their own thing, right? So
yes.
I just, I know there's not much you can do to destroy a career, but I also think that we have to be careful about how we are on a platform that's very, we're very vulnerable, we're very exposed, more than
Yes,
ever.
yes,
The
I agree.
authors in the past have been able to hide behind, this cloak, and no one knows. Whereas now it's like everybody knows everybody.
Yes.
And I think it's just important to remember that it's not about you. It's not. I mean, that sounds offensive, but I don't believe that your books are about you. I think, unless it's a biography, and then it literally is about you.
I
Or
think what people wanna know about an author are, like, what motivates you, what your hopes and dreams are, not your
Mm,
political stance or,
yeah,
things that are divisive like that. I think you can share some of you without being divisive to
yeah,
other people, and so
yes,
that's my thoughts on sharing parts of you. Just be genuine and be sincere and share your hopes and dreams and the
mm,
things that matter to people, and don't be divisive, don't be destructive, don't be argumentative. And
yeah,
um, if someone attacks you, that's on them. Don't attack back, um,
yes,
because you
yeah,
never know who's having a terrible, horrible, horrible day. And if
yeah.
they attack you, it could just be they just had a really bad day.
Mhm. Yeah, it's true. I've seen some authors. I think this is so fun. I couldn't do it myself, but they'll set up a pen name and then they create a character around that author. So like
Oh,
they'll do
interesting.
newsletters, and they'll write it in a voice of their pen name, and it's like a character. And that's great for authors that don't like to share their own personal. I know that some people say, well, I don't know what to write in a newsletter because I don't want to talk
Right.
about my life or my family. And then some people create like a persona, which I think
Oh,
is really fun because we all do
interesting.
that in our books. So you can,
Yes,
why
we
not
do.
do it as an author too and be like, I have a pet lizard and it talks. No, people won't believe that. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. Interesting. Yes. So any other thoughts on sustainability before we say goodbye today? Any
Yeah, I had
last
that
minute?
analogy, didn't I? But I know I'm going to fail at sharing this analogy. But
Oh, no, you're
I was
not.
well, I was thinking about, oh, it's because I don't go camping. The most I'll
Oh.
do is glamping, and I haven't even done that. That's just like in theory, if I had real life friends or ever left my house. Anyway, so is this concept of when you're looking at trying to build a sustainable business. Okay, this is perfect. Okay, we have a question here.
Oh, yes.
How not to burn out. Okay, I
That's
have a really good
perfect.
analogy for you, okay? So, I along with many authors I know fell into this sort of trap of I got to release more, I got to release more, I got to rapid release, I've got to keep writing, got to keep producing. That's how I'm going to grow my business. That's going to how I'm going to get more money. Constantly chasing the next goal, right? So my book was 7,000 the store. Now I want it to be 5,000. Now I want it to be 3,000. And it, there's this chase, just always chasing the next goal and the next big thing. Or maybe you have a couple of months where your sales dip and then you're constantly trying to chase your tail to bring your sales back up again. And last year I produced an awful lot of content and I didn't make more money. I made like practically the same amount of money last year that I made the year before. And yet I worked so hard and then I got crazy, crazy, crazy burnout. And I've seen many authors go through the same thing. So then I was thinking of this analogy. Okay. So, like rapid releasing and writing to trend is like the kindling on a fire. It burns hot, but then it goes out really fast. And then you've got to keep producing more kindling. But that can be exhausting. And at some point, you're going to run out, you know?
Yes.
So then you need to have something in your business that is going to be more slow burning, like your logs, right? So you can have like you could rapid release a series that could be your that starts off your career, but that's not something that you're going to be able to do. You can't write a book every week for the rest of your life. It's just not going to happen. You are going to
Yeah.
find that life hits you, burnout hits you, and once you lose that momentum, you then start thinking that's it. I'm over, like, so. And I do like this question, how not to burn out, because it's about preventative rather than cure. Because I think with burnout, it is so much easier to try and prevent it than to, yeah, it's, yes. So, especially in juggling writing, author platform, author business, it's so much. It's so
Mhm.
much. It is so much. And so, what we need is to look at our business um, more long term and see, okay, what activities are income producing activities, and focus your time and energy on doing those things first before you do the other stuff.
Mhm.
Because a lot of the time I'm working on my business, and working on my business is scrolling through TikTok, it's looking at other people's
Right?
books, it's reading other people's books, it's reading other people's reviews, it's writing down what
Yes.
people are saying in reader groups, it's reading
Yes.
my own reviews. And it's not that's not making me any money. You know?
Mhm.
What's making us money? Marketing, posting videos, writing our newsletters, maybe setting up some ads and writing. So it's like, focus on those income producing activities and having a bare minimum that you want to achieve. And if you can't do this every day because that doesn't work with your personal life or doesn't work with your personality, then do it over a 30-day period. So, like this month, I want to focus on doing these things, and then it will just help you. So, it's a bit like with weight loss and dieting. If you get past like your calories in one day, don't be like, oh, darn it, like that's ruined. Because if you over a week are still in a deficit, you will lose that week. So, kind of like zoom out and don't think that you have to be constantly on it, you know and time blocking, absolutely. I think you need to be protective of your family time, because I got obsessed with work. Like, I'll be with my family still thinking about, I need to finish my chapter, or I wonder if my editors reply to me, or I wonder how many sales, how many times I'll be like, in the store, like refreshing my phone, like, oh, I just made a sale. Be protective and be
Oh,
present
I
when it's not business hours.
totally do that too.
Do you?
Yes, yes. I can get obsessed with business and obsessed with numbers too. And so I have to know my limits, and when I'm with my family, be there with my family and just
Mhm,
shut off the phone and be like, "Okay, I'm not going to check my numbers right now because I'm having dinner
mhm,
with my family. This is family time."
mhm.
I also think in order to avoid burnout, we need to know what helps us overcome
Mhm.
burnout because it's different per person, right? And
Yeah, it's true.
for me to overcome burnout, if I feel the first stages of burnout coming, I just need to immerse myself in story, meaning reading books that fill my creative well, or watching dramas that fill my creative well, or anything like that. These are the things
Mhm.
that I need to do in order to overcome or stop myself from that burnout
Yeah.
pitfall that comes from focusing too hard on just work all the time.
Mhm.
So, but I think it's different per person, and you need to know what your symptoms of burnout are and recognize
Mhm.
that, and not be afraid of it, but try to do things that prevent you from getting deep into burnout, because
Mhm.
that can really hurt your career.
Yes. We have another question.
We do. I will put it up. How do you get past the negative feedback hump? Well, you just went through this, Laura, so
I know,
you can
right?
help with this. How do you
Um,
get past that?
First of all, allow yourself to feel the emotions. Um, I tried to hide from my emotions and tried to just say, I'm fine, everything's fine. And I wasn't really attacking it head on and just going, you know what, that hurt. Like, so I'm taking the advice that is constructive and taking that for future works. And then if there's nothing constructive in there, then you can you can move on from it. I don't know. It's so hard. I don't really know how to put it into words. I just know I feel the pain, and I'm sorry if that's something you're going through, Shelley, because the negative feedback hump, it's not even a hump. I feel like it's a mountain, and
Yes.
it's it sometimes it's not even about the feedback. Sometimes it is something's going on in your personal life, and or it's a, you know, like my dad passed away 5 years ago, a few days ago. It was an emotional time for me, and emotions are close to the surface. So it could be that just you get that negative feedback at a point when you're just feeling really raw, whereas normally you could be a bit more pragmatic about it. I think giving yourself a little bit of time and space to feel those emotions, to have a cry, maybe watch a nice movie, something that gives you a little bit of joy. Talk to some author friends who understand it. Do not talk to anyone else. I said to my husband, like, I'm feeling a little bit sad, and he's like, why? And I said, oh well, I got these reviews that said my book isn't good, and he said, well, maybe it isn't.
Terrible, terrible thing to say. Don't ever say that.
It's like that was not helpful. That was not what I wanted. It's not what I needed.
No, wrong thing, wrong thing.
Oh, my life. Yeah, I think as well, just knowing it's just part of the job. You know, like we get negative feedback from, yeah, it is a husband comment, isn't it? And I'm glad it's not just me. But yeah, I get, like, you get negative feedback all the time on social media, on your ads, on your you know, from your editor, from everyone's going to give you feedback. And I think it's just a little bit painful when it's so public. So if you get the negative feedback, and it's so if it's on an ad, hide the comment, because you're not paying for other people to say mean things on your ad. I don't think that's appropriate. And if it's on a review, have a cry about it if you need to, but try and read the good reviews. Is what I did today. I decided to go on Amazon again and look at my book, and I just selected the 5-star reviews, and I went, Laura, read the positive feedback as if it was negative feedback, because what I would normally do is if I see a 5-star review, I'm like, oh, they said da, 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 great, and I would skim to the next one. And then if it was a bad review, I would read it like really carefully and like really internalize every word. And I thought, no, let's just look at the 5-star reviews as well and see what do people really love, because they're the ones you're writing for anyway. They're the ones that are going to read the next book. So yeah, just take your time, take as much time as you need to do your whole self-care, and talk to us guys, come in the writing gals, say, I've had this feedback. Sometimes you need people to say whether it's constructive or not, because sometimes you don't know. Like if someone says something about your book and you're like, I don't know if that's something I should take on board, or if that's something I should just say, that's just
It's
an opinion.
nasty. Some
Yeah.
reviews are just nasty, and that little mean person inside our head likes to take
Yeah.
that nasty review and tell us it is true and that every word means so much, and you gotta take
Yeah.
that person inside your head and kick them out. They are so
Yes.
mean. We just gotta say, "Shut up, voice in my head." This is
Yeah.
not a true statement. I've had reviews say, you write like a kindergartner. That is not a true
Oh,
statement. That is
no.
so not true. So you got to tell yourself that person was just mean and nasty and they are just having a bad day. And I am
Yeah.
not going to believe that statement because that is not a true statement. And so,
Yeah.
so you just have, and you have to, it helps me to realize that every book gets bad reviews, even the best book that has ever been written, that book that you've read that changed your life, go read their bad reviews because
Yes.
they get
Yeah.
them too. If it's
Yeah.
sold more than, 100 copies, it's gotten a bad review.
Mhm.
And you just need to realize that everybody gets them. It's not personal. It's just something to say, okay, I got a bad review. Yay. I hit that
Yeah.
mark. Now I'm gonna move on. Yeah, and sometimes it helps not to just not read them at all.
Yeah, if you have the self-control, try and not read them for a while. It will help a lot. My dad, you just reminded me something. When he was alive, I was optioning, not optioning, yeah, trying to pitch my work to agents. This is when I was 14, and I
Oh,
got
yeah,
my
that's great.
first few rejection letters. And when I got them through, he cheered and he celebrated and he said, frame them, Laura. You need to frame them. And I said, why? These are rejections. He said, these are your rejections. When you're a famous author, you'll be able to look back at these and say, look, I got my, because he said, there's only so many
Mm.
rejections before you get someone who's going to say yes, So like I can almost hear his voice, like, every bad review you get, there's only so many bad reviews you're going to get before people are like, I love this book. It's just statistics, right?
So
It's
what
the
we should
law
do
of
is make a
averages.
bad review chart and put a gold star every time we get one, and when we fill it up, go get chocolate or something to reward
Ooh,
ourselves. It
yeah.
can be a thing, right?
It's
Turn
a
it into
badge
a
of honor.
positive. Yes, a badge of
And
honor.
a lot of authors say that, when not authors, a lot of readers say on TikTok that they're very suspicious of books that don't have any 1 or 2-star reviews,
Yeah,
because they think,
absolutely.
oh, maybe they're just all fake reviews then. Because having some bad reviews is like, it legitimizes your book. So
Yes.
it's important to have them. No, I didn't frame them. I put them in an envelope though. I had 4 of them, and then I don't know where they are. I still think I have them though, but,
Awesome.
yeah.
That's
I'd
awesome.
forgotten about that memory. That was nice, thank you. I don't know who made me remember that, but that was
That's
That was a
awesome.
lovely memory. I just remember him standing in the kitchen and being like, "Laura, I'm so proud of you." And I was like, "But it's a
Oh,
rejection."
that's so cool, though. What an awesome dad.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. This has been wonderful. And thank you all who said happy birthday to me. I'm just going to go celebrate my birthday today and have an awesome day.
Yay.
And you guys have a wonderful day. And yeah, just don't mind those bad reviews at all. I'm going to make a chart. I really am. I'm going to make a chart and start
Me
putting
too.
gold stars when I get bad reviews. So
Yeah.
when I can fill that up, and then I can have a treat or something fun like that.
I love
So
it.
all right, you guys, have a great day and go and be awesome.
Bye.
Bye bye.